Hey everyone, excited to be back for this week's edition of Frequently Asked Questions for Commercial Real Estate. In today's video, what I thought I'd do is talk about a common strategy that's employed in commercial real estate, and that is single tenant net lease investing. Now you may be wondering, what exactly is single tenant net lease? Well, single tenant net lease has to do with leasing a commercial building to a single tenant. Generally speaking, you would lease this building under a triple net lease agreement, meaning that they would be responsible for paying taxes, insurance, and maintenance on the property, or an absolute triple net lease, which would incorporate those three plus maintenance of the major components of the building, including the roof, HVAC, etc. Not only that, but in a lot of situations, you would be leasing the space to corporate tenants, such as Walgreens, Dollar General, Starbucks, Taco Bell, KFC, etc. So that's kind of an overview what single tenant net lease investing is. And now we're going to dive into the pros and cons of investing to see if it's actually something that you'd be interested in for your own investment purposes. So number one, let's start off with the pros. So the first thing that is probably the biggest reason why single tenant net lease investing is so attractive to a lot of people is its predictability. Oftentimes in these situations, these corporate tenants sign 10 to 20, maybe 25-year leases. A lot of times you really don't have to worry about a vacancy for a longer period of time. And if you're someone who really doesn't want to have to worry about the constant turnover of dealing with a multi-tenant center where, maybe you have a tenant that stays there for a few years and then they move and then you have to fill it again, this offers predictability over time, which is very attractive to a lot of people. Number two is actually reduced management. Because it is a triple net lease and sometimes an absolute triple net lease, there's almost no responsibility for the landlord. It's essentially mailbox money where every month the tenant pays you like clockwork. In particular, if it's corporately backed, you can feel pretty safe knowing that you're going to receive that monthly payment each and every month. So that's the number two reason why single tenant net lease investments are quite attractive. And then finally, number three is because you sign a very long lease a lot of times in these scenarios, is you're going to maintain full occupancy for a long period of time. So again, kind of lends back to that predictability component where you don't have to worry about your property being vacant and being vandalized or whatever else. It's going to be occupied for a long period of time, hopefully by good tenants. In the corporately backed case, most of the time it is great tenants. So you really don't have to worry about that aspect of investment strategy. So those are the top three reasons that it may be attractive to invest in single tenant net lease properties. But now let's go over some of the cons of investing in this type of property. Number one is you're dealing with a single tenant. Now you're going to oftentimes have them sign a long-term lease, usually in that 10 to 20 to 25 year range. But after that term is up, they may decide to leave. And if they decide to leave, you have 100% vacancy on that building. So that's why it's so important when you analyze these single tenant net lease opportunities that you make sure that the real estate itself still has a lot of value. So for example, if you buy a property in a great location and the tenant itself is paying below market rent, then if they decide to leave, that's a unique opportunity for you to increase the value of that building by finding a tenant that's going to pay a lot higher rent for that particular piece of real estate. It's probably not a good idea for you to buy a piece of real estate in the middle of nowhere. If that tenant decides to leave, you're not going to be able to get anywhere near what you were getting before. So number one con is actually the single tenant aspect of the building. So in order to mitigate that risk, you just got to make sure that as you analyze that investment opportunity, you make sure that that piece of real estate is a very attractive piece of real estate so that if they were to decide to leave for some reason, you have the opportunity to raise the value of that property. Maybe it's going to take you 6 to 12 months to do so, but you still have that opportunity. So that's number one. And then number two, probably the one of the most common reasons why people don't necessarily love investing in commercial or single tenant net lease opportunities is the lower returns. And that's generally because it's predictable. It's very stable. There's not a lot of variability in the investment. So generally speaking, you would have a lower cap rate on these investment opportunities, generally in that 4% to maybe 6 or 7% range. Versus maybe a high value add opportunity that's going to have a lot higher return, but also have a lot higher risk. So in the case of these single tenant net lease options, if you're someone who has some money and you prefer to invest in something that's very stable and consistent long term, and you just really want that cash flow from that investment to sustain your lifestyle, these can be very unique opportunities or investment opportunities for you over a longer period of time. So if that's something that you're interested in, and feel free to reach out to me. My number is 502-536-7315, or you can reach me via email at raphael@grisantigroup.com, and I'd be happy to help you analyze and try to find a single tenant net lease opportunity that's right for you. Not only that, but if you love this video, feel free to like, share, and subscribe to this channel. I love providing awesome and engaging content related to commercial real estate. And that's it. That'll wrap up this week's episode, and we'll see you guys next week. See ya.